What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're looking at my MLB PrizePicks plays for Monday. We have, I think, 7 or 8 games today. We got an early game, and then we got 7 on the main slate today. Let's go ahead and get into it. Looking back at yesterday, we hit 3 of 4 props. Dunning was the one that missed. That wouldn't have been the one I would have guessed. Would not have come through for us. He was facing off against the worst offense in the league. He didn't have his strikeout stuff and got hit around a bit. But we hit the Nerfy in the Mets game, hit the over Ks on Shane Bieber by 3. His line was set at 6. I believe he had 9 strikeouts, and then hit the over fantasy score on Sandy Alcantara by a mile. He went 8 strong, 8 strikeouts, got the win, quality start, all that good stuff. See if we can go at least 3 out of 4 today, or if not, a complete sweep. I do recommend, if I do play 4 props, you can play them in flex, at least a little in flex. You can put some in power play as well if you wanted to. Or you can do a mix and match where you just make 2 props, combine them, and do something that way. So that's also another approach, because it is very difficult to sweep every single day or even multiple times a week. It's just very unlikely with how tough the lines get on PrizePicks. But as always, if you enjoy my content, you can hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out my Twitter if you haven't signed up yet on PrizePicks. Use my code PROCESS. And let's go ahead and get started. Got 4 props that I want to share with you guys. First one is going to be a strikeout prop, and this one is going to be courtesy of one of the best strikeout pitchers in baseball over the last couple of years, Corbin Burnes. His line is set at 7 on PrizePicks. I think this one has a good chance of getting to 7.5 by the time the day comes to an end. He gets a matchup against the St. Louis Cardinals. On Sportsbooks, his line is already set at 7.5, with it being a little bit favored to the over. The Cardinals are not a very heavy strikeout team, but sometimes you just gotta, the pitchers are just different. Burnes just is not your average right-handed pitcher. You gotta take into account of just how much strikeout upside that Burnes gives you. On the season, he's hit this prop. He's gotten you at least 7 in 64% of his starts. A couple of pushes here. Always, I don't really like to count the first game too much, because that's the first game of the season where the pitchers, they don't throw as much as they usually do the rest of the way. So he only threw 83 pitches in that first one. If you take that one out, he would have hit 7 out of 10, at least getting you 7 strikeouts. And some of the misses have come recently. The Padres have had his number recently, but in general, if we put up last season as well, 7 strikeouts is something that he typically will get you 64% of the time. The line would be like minus 177, accounting for the props there, and he's just throwing a lot of pitches recently. He's also squared off against the Cardinals 5 times in his career, and he's gotten you at least 7 strikeouts in 3 out of the 4 starts. So that's favorable. That would be like a minus 300 over-under on Sportsbooks. And 4 out of 5 of the starts, he's thrown less than 90 pitches, which he just doesn't do anymore. So he could have had way more strikeouts on the 5th. Could have had like double digits on the first 2 games. Probably still would have missed against them on the 17th of last year. But in general, Burnes is one that I really like. We can go ahead and take a look at it over on Plate IQ. So he has one of the lowest xFIPs, 2.76 out of all starting pitchers over the last couple years. 35% strikeout rate. Looking at this lineup, you're looking to strike out the middle to bottom half of the lineup more than the top half. You got 30% K rate for the newcomer Gorman, 21 for Yepes, 23 for Carlson, Bader about 20, the catcher about 20, and then if he's able to get some Ks against Goldschmidt, that would be nice. But he strikes out both sides of the plate. Looking at 5 righties, 4 lefties for him. In the projected lineup, 34% K rate against lefties, 35 against righties, and not much of a difference there. And also we can look at how many strikeouts he's had against this team over on props.cash, and we can see he struck out Goldschmidt 8 times in 22 appearances. He struck out Edman 45%, Arenado 25%, O'Neill, if he's in the lineup, he struck him out well over 50%, Carlson 30%, Bader 66%. So just a lot of Ks for him and a lot of success against this Cardinals lineup and these hitters. That's the first prop I want to go ahead and put in. The second prop is going to be a fantasy score prop, and this one, I'm going to have 2 fantasy score props for you guys. I'm going with Garrett Cole. It's at 41.5, but this one I just feel good about it. If you pull up his numbers against Tampa Bay, obviously he's faced them off a number of times just in the last couple of years, well, since 2021. Just being in the same division. He's had a couple of double-digit strikeout games against them, more than a couple. He's had 4 out of his 6. He's gotten you at least 10 strikeouts. And he's going on the road here, pitching in Tampa Bay, so it gets a huge ballpark upgrade. That park will eat up a lot of fly balls that normally will get out of the park easily in his park in Yankee Stadium. Looking at the matchup success that he's had, Kiermaier strikes out a bunch against him. Margot is about 20%, maybe a little under that. Rosarania over a third striking out. Phillips probably when he would be in the lineup. Walls, if he's in the lineup in the 9-hole, 50% there. The catcher, 75%. And Garrett Cole's thrown normally over 100 pitches against him. In his most recent start, he only threw 92, but he went 6 strong, with a bunch of strikeouts, no earned runs, and now he's going into Tampa Bay. It's a great spot. Look at the numbers on Plate IQ, and it's looking at the lineup. He should have success striking out a good amount of them, just based on how often he has in the past, and just some of these guys strike out an absolute ton. The catcher's right now at 44% in his 18 plate appearances. Not a huge sample size, but 25% for Brujan. You have 28% for Rosarania. Choi's at 26%. Kiermaier's at 26%. So I do like the upside that Cole will give you with the strikeouts. He struck out a lot of lefties over the last couple years, this year and last year, striking them out at 38% compared to 30% against righties. And he's looking at still a good amount of lefties in here, about 3 lefties, if not they maybe a fourth if they decide to shake up the lineup a bit. So Garrett Cole, hopefully he's able to get me 41.5. I know the matchup is tough for him on the other side with McClanahan, but if the Yankees are able to get the win and Cole does go 6, you get that quality start, you get that win, and great chance that Cole has an opportunity to flirt with double-digit strikeouts like he typically will do against the Tampa Bay Rays. The third fantasy score prop, or the third prop I'm going to give you is another fantasy score prop. Taking the over 30.5 on Jose Barrios. Barrios just been pitching a lot better recently. We can also look at Garrett Cole's faced him off twice this year, and he has 17 strikeouts in 12 innings. And he's done a little bit worse on the road, but tough to see him getting really hammered in Tampa Bay. That park is just one of the worst for hitting. But if you look at Barrios, he's really turned it around recently. He still has a high ERA, but in his last 3 starts, he's gotten you at least 7 innings, and could have thrown more pitches in some of them, like only 86 pitches to get you 7 innings. He was starting to get hit a little bit in the 7th inning. He went 8 strong against Detroit and went another 7 strong against Minnesota, where he had 13 Ks, and since that starts, he's really started to look a lot better. He gets a matchup against the Chicago White Sox, who have really struggled with a lot of injuries this season. If you look at this lineup, it's definitely not what they would have expected. Tim Anderson is hurt. Eloy Jimenez is hurt. You're not getting great production out of the third baseman. Moncada has having one of the worst starts to his career. One of his worst starts to the season in his career so far this year. You're having to play guys like Harrison and Engel and Pollock against righties, which is something that they would have initially thought they would have done. So you're getting a bunch of right-handed hitters here. 9 righties are in the projected lineup. And looking at the numbers on Plate IQ, a lot of them strike out over 20%. A couple of guys over 30% here with Jake Berger and the catcher. And even though the strikeout numbers are a little bit similar for Barrios in terms of lefties and righties, the other advanced numbers are way better against righties. The ISO is down to just 0.111, so he's not giving up a ton of power and doubles and home runs against right-handed batters. The WOBA is way down, so less guys getting on base. The walk percentage is almost 3 ticks lower. The ground ball rate is almost 10% higher. Fly ball rate is way down, so looking at potentially 9 righties here. No lefties are expected to be in the lineup for the White Sox. Just a great spot for Barrios to continue his success. It's a pretty low fantasy score, and it's only the second start for Lance Lynn, so he could also be limited like he was in his first start. Maybe he gets over 90 pitches in this one, but I do like Barrios to get me at least 30.5 fantasy points, especially if he continues to pitch as well as he has recently, where he's just cruising and getting you 6 strong, if not 7 strong innings very easily. And then the last prop I want to give you guys is a Nerfy. Now this one, McClanahan did let us down last time out, but it was kind of unfortunate. It was a bomb to Aaron Judge, but that bomb also would not have gone out in his home park. Also wouldn't have gone out in 29 of the other ballparks. The only home run that it would have yielded was Yankee Stadium, where it just went 346 feet. Didn't look like a home run off the bat, but it cleared that short porch that they have out there in Yankee Stadium. But now, different story in Tropicana Field. I'm taking the under half a run between Garrett Cole and Shane McClanahan. Should be a pitching duel in this one that has the lowest total by far out of any of the games. Let's look at the Nerfy odds on Props.cash, and we can see that this one has a 59% just based on the records here, but the sportsbooks have this at minus 160. It is by far the best in terms of not yielding a run in the first inning. Another one that you could look to, and I might consider, is Mikolas and Corbin Burnes one. You got two great pitchers. Mikolas just missed out on a no-hitter at his most recent start. He did throw a good amount of pitches, but hopefully he's still not tired or anything like that. That would be the other nerfy that I would consider, and possibly the Max Fried Logan Webb one, but Webb hasn't been as great at not yielding runs in the first inning. But give me McClanahan and Garrett Cole, two pitchers that by the end of the season will probably be in the Cy Young, in the finalists for the American League. At least McClanahan right now is leading the way with a 1.62 ERA. If Cole continues to pitching like he does, lowers the ERA a bit, he should be right back in the mix. But that's what I got. Definitely you can play these four in the flex, or you can put them into your power play, but I'd probably do a little bit of both if I'm doing that, or mix and match and run like 2-man power plays that way. But Burnes over 7Ks, Cole over fantasy, Barrios over fantasy, and Nerfy in the Rays game. That's what I got for you guys. Best of luck. Leave any other props that you have questions about down below in the comments. I'll respond to them as soon as I can, and I will see you all next time.